Hello there, this is Mary Schiller with you today. I just wanted to jump on here for a quick Facebook Live broadcast on day 2 of our 3-day money making challenge. I'm going to be out this evening, so I know this isn't a great time for me to be live if you're on the West Coast. So just a note of thanks if you're watching the replay. I wanted to check in with you because I thought it might help to hear a little bit about my own story related to money, and I won't go on and on with this. It really has to do with how I used to see success and successful people and how I used to try to emulate what they were doing. So in the past, I was working for myself. And then I moved to a new state and decided that I wanted to go to work full time. But I still, during that period, that was about 7 years that I worked for a company full time, I still had the desire to create my own business again. And so, hi, Anne, good to see you. Thanks for being here. So I was looking at different ways that I could work for myself, and the work that I had been doing previously when I had my freelancing business, I really didn't want to go back to that. So I was looking at various ways to shift from working full-time to working for myself again. And I really found myself in sort of a strange loop. And that loop was me feeling like I didn't know enough, that I didn't have enough skills, that I didn't have enough abilities, that I didn't have enough information, and on and on and on to create a sustainable, healthy, lucrative business for myself. And I'm not sure why I had that kind of thinking going on. It doesn't even really matter, but I did. And I see a lot of other people out there who have that kind of thinking too. That's why there are so many programs around that are trying to share information about how to build successful businesses and so on. And I was certainly part of that loop for a long time. I bought programs, I tried to follow what they were telling me to do, and nothing worked. Literally nothing worked. You know, I would sort of pick up bits and pieces of information here and there, but nothing was really helping me to create anything. So then I saw a coach for a while, a business coach, who was supposed to help me get something started. And I really like her. I still like her very much. But what she told me was really not very helpful because she kind of reinforced the fact that I needed outside information in order to get me where I wanted to go. So she kind of tried to steer me into a certain area that I had a lot of skills in, and then was making suggestions about how I could put things together and all these different things. And I just ended up feeling more confused and more muddled as time went on. So you'll notice that in this challenge, I am not making any suggestions to you as to what you could do or what you should do or anything like that, because I finally saw, it took me a long time, but I finally saw that I have the answers already and you have the answers already. I wanted to change what I did for a living. I wanted to change my financial reality. And I finally saw that I didn't need anyone else to tell me how to do that. That those answers were already here. All I needed to do, as I was talking about yesterday on our Facebook Live, was ignore any thinking I had going on that was telling me otherwise. And then those messages started to come through louder and clearer. So all that to say, if you are having the sense that you don't know what to do in terms of money or anything else, frankly, the truth is that you do. You absolutely do know. Those answers are not just in you, but they are you in a way. And all that needs to happen is for some of the thinking to kind of fade into the background so that inner voice can speak to you more loudly and clearly. And I know this is true because there were always areas of my life outside of money that I noticed this. So for instance, I always felt pretty comfortable with my parenting abilities. That was an area that, in looking back on it, my daughter's grown now, but looking back on it, I didn't have a lot of noisy thinking about it at all. I was much more often acting from a place of inspiration and intuition with her than I was from, hi, Kimberly, so nice to see you, than I was from any kind of noisy thinking going on, because I just didn't have that happening in my head. So actually, Kimberly was asking some good questions about, ignoring thinking or, what is the role of thought here anyway? Don't we have to have ideas in order to make money? And yes, we do. But we don't have to listen to any kind of stressed out, worried thinking we have about money or anything else. And when I look back on all those times I was listening to all these experts and I was trying to follow their advice and I was trying to follow these step-by-step plans to get me from A to Z, all I was really doing was listening to a bunch of thoughts that I didn't need to be listening to. They could still be there. It wasn't like there was something wrong with that. But I had the answers inside me the whole time. And once I started to really realize that, and I could see other areas of my life where that was true, like parenting and my weight and some other things that I didn't have really any struggle with, I was like, well, shoot, if I don't have struggle in those areas, then I don't have to have struggle with money either, because it's all the same source, if you will. You are the source of ease in any and every area of life. You are the source of creativity in any area of life. So it's not like you have ease in some areas, but not in others, or you have creativity in some areas and not others. Those things go across the board. The only difference between them is that in some areas you have a lot of thinking that you are listening to, and you have the option to not do that. Hey, Lori. Wow, you're up early or late or something. I don't know. Hi, Karen. Hey, Suzanne. Nice to see you. So really, I want to bring home this point that, I'm not saying that it isn't helpful sometimes to get trained in certain things. Like if you need to make a website and you want to learn how to use it, yeah, it helps to go through training for that. But overall, I think that we are living in a time and a culture that is very interesting because it seems to be telling us that we don't already have the answers within us, that we must go to an expert, that we must, seek out a guru, that we, have to follow what other people are doing to set up their fantastic businesses. Well, what's so funny about that to me, looking back on it, is those step-by-step programs that people always try to sell you. Those weren't step-by-step plans that they actually went through. When I look at somebody who is really successful in business, that certainly didn't follow any sort of linear path that they could then write out and share with someone. As I shared in my post today on my update about my own money challenge. Hi, Angela. Nice to see you. I had no idea that we were going to get paid today on something that had been owed for a while. I had no idea I was going to get an email from this company that I used to do automatic savings with telling me that there was $500 in the account. I had totally forgotten about that account. It wasn't even on my radar after moving here to France. I just forgot all about it. I had no idea that somebody was going to contact me and asking me to do a project for them. And so there's so many factors that can't be written out in a linear fashion, that to assume that somebody else has the plan for our success around money or anything else is just looking in the wrong direction. That's all. So I think if I could give you one thing to consider today, it would be to, and reflect on what those experiences are like. I would wager money, I would wager money that in those areas, you just don't have a lot of thinking in your head about it. You just go do the thing. And that same ease is available to you with making money. There is no difference at all between something that comes easily to you, and even if money seems like it's challenging, the same creative force and the same abilities and talents that you have in that one area can go in any area, and that includes money. The only difference is whether or not you're listening to a bunch of thinking. And I want to also reiterate something that I think I mentioned on the Facebook Live yesterday, but it bears repeating. There is nothing wrong with having negative or thinking that you don't like. Let's put it that way. There's nothing wrong with that. Everyone has thinking that they don't like. Everybody has dark thoughts. Everybody has scary thoughts. Everybody has worried thoughts. The difference is, and I'm speaking for myself and what I've seen, I don't care anymore that I have those kind of thoughts. Like, I'll have a day where I'm feeling kind of, wigged out about whatever. And it's like, yeah, okay, so I'm having a day where I'm feeling wigged out and, a little stressed. Oh, well, everybody does. So it's not a big deal. And I just go about my business and I keep creating things and doing things and writing things or whatever it is that I want to do. I just don't really worry about it anymore. Whereas before, I kind of uncovered all this for myself. I really got scared if I had stressed out and worried thinking, because it looked like it was, some flashing truth or something that I needed to pay attention to. And over time, I've just seen that any thought like that, especially something that's trying to, limit me in some way, is completely unreliable and untrue. Don't need to go there. Don't need to listen to it. It can come in, it can dance around, it can, try to yell at me. It can do anything it wants. Doesn't matter. It has no bearing on my capabilities, on what I can do or not do. It has no bearing whatsoever. So once you start to see that, it's so freeing, because it's like you don't have to be in a certain state of mind in order to make something happen. You don't have to have a certain kind of thinking in order to be successful. None of that seems real to me anymore. It seems more like, to use an analogy that I use frequently because I love water, it's like saying that the waves on the ocean have some effect on the depth and capability of the ocean itself. They don't. And to me, that's what thinking is like. It's the thing on the surface that gives us this human experience, but it has no effect on what's underneath it. It can't do anything to that. Isn't that a relief, Kimberly? It was for me. Some of you may know that I had a long history of post-traumatic stress disorder, many, many years, decades even. And what I'm sharing with you is what helped me eliminate it, essentially, really quickly, within just a few weeks, was I realized that I could have that kind of thinking come into my head, and it had nothing to do with me. It was like the waves on the ocean. It was just on the surface, but it had nothing to do with what was underneath all of that, because I couldn't be contained in a set of thinking, and neither can you. You're infinite. I'm infinite. We have infinite possibility and capability and creativity built into us that has absolutely nothing to do with what these kind of little buzzy thoughts tell us during the day. And I'm not discounting the fact that thoughts can be quite powerful, because they can, but their power sort of gets diminished when you start to realize that they're just a tiny little fraction of what this human experience is all about. And there's so much more we can experience when we kind of see the place of thought, and we realize how much more we are than that, if that makes sense. Another analogy that I use sometimes is of the earth. The earth has a crust on the outside, but we wouldn't say that that crust is the earth, would we? That's how I see thinking. Thinking is sort of like the crust on the outside of the earth, but there's so much more that we can explore. There's so much energy and vitality that is living and breathing and moving, and, creating and changing underneath all of that thinking, I would much rather spend my time looking there. And that's really what I focus on in the work that I do with people, and definitely what I'm focusing on in this program that I'll be releasing tomorrow called Let's Make Money, Honey. I can't help but smile every time I say the name of that program. No idea why that came to me, but it did. And I was like, I'm going with it. So if you are kind of enjoying this way of seeing money, I would love to hear that in your comments and see what is coming up for you that's new around this. And please keep updating us with how things are going with the challenge. My main goal is not necessarily that you hit that target number. That would be great if you can. But my real goal is to kind of lighten the mood around money and show that it can be creative and fun instead of heavy and scary and all that stuff that we try to kind of put onto it. So any questions before I sign off here? I'll just pause for a second. I really appreciate you guys joining. Lori, I have been kind of talking to a woman who helps artists with art marketing. Been seeing some things in new ways, but I can see that I still need to open my own out to your own higher mind in 3P speak and not get too caught up in her method. Overall, be helpful. Yes, that's exactly what I mean. Like we can sort of get caught up in what works for somebody else and not realize that we have our own system that works for us. And so, it's a fine line because like I was saying a moment ago, some kinds of training can be helpful, but when we keep looking over there, when we keep looking to a guru, when we keep looking to training classes and we keep looking to, other people's success, we're missing planet Earth, that's living within us. We've got all of that creative energy too. And what we hear inside ourselves, the inspiration that comes to us is designed for us. It's not designed for someone else. So what works for someone else worked for them because that was, to use kind of a funny term, that was their download. They heard that piece of inspiration and they heard those steps come to them. And that's what they followed. Now, in good spirit, they want to try to save you time. So they try to figure out what they saw and they put that into some kind of step-by-step thing. But the truth is, that's theirs and you have yours. And if you follow yours, you have a much better chance of changing what you want to change in your life than you could ever have following someone else's plan. At least that's how it looks to me. And that's the experience that I have had and that I've been sharing with other people. And it seems to be helpful to them to see that. Any other questions? So fun to have you all here. All right. Okay. Well, I guess I will sign off then, and I will be back on here tomorrow with another quick Facebook Live as well. So keep going on the challenge and post some updates on what you're seeing and experiencing. And I will talk to you all again soon. Thanks so much. Bye now.